What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to try out using Claude projects with their custom instruction feature to build a one-shot prompt that can build me a Python tool that runs as a standalone single file script. Now, I took this idea from the one and only Simon Willison, who wrote this very awesome article called Building Python Tools with a One-Shot Prompt Using UV and Claude Projects. And essentially, I was inspired by that, as I am with a lot of his projects. This guy is amazing. If you don't know him, look him up, Simon Willison. And what I want to do is pretty simple. I want to copy this approach a little bit. And to do that, we're going to just remember, like, what is Claude Projects, what is UV, and what are we trying to achieve, okay? So let's start with Claude Projects. So Claude Projects is just essentially when you use Claude with the ability to insert a bunch of files, give it custom instructions, and essentially allows you to work on projects more than just, a single chat interface, and so on and so forth. Now, UV is a project dependency, a Python packaging dependency tool that I'm gonna open up right here that allows you to do, it solves a lot of the problems that we have when we're developing Python projects that require, complex dependencies, etc. So it solves a lot of those issues, and it solves that by having a lot of strategies and approaches to different types of contexts and scenarios that we encounter when we're developing Python projects. And one of my favorite releases they had is this ability to run a script with dependencies by essentially writing simple documentation on top of the file that I'm going to show you right here, which is this thing here, which is essentially the inline metadata required to run the script. So essentially you just comment something saying, look, I want these dependencies for this file, and then you write your Python script, and there we go. Now, why is that relevant to me? It's relevant to me because I have on my automations project folder here on my machine, which if I showed you, it has all of these, it has just, I don't know if it's 100, like it's a lot of Python scripts that I use for all sorts of different things. And what I would like to do is standardize the way that I develop these new tools, because I love writing single file Python scripts that solve some particular problem for me. And I've written so many over the years, but what I'm doing right now to handle the dependencies is I have this make file automation that essentially does a few things for me. And it does use UV to do a faster compilation and syncing of the requirements. But I do this very naive single requirements file for a bunch of Python files that have very complex dependencies. So I end up with having like a very big requirements.m file like this and a very big requirements text file. What I would like to have is a more simplified approach to this, so that I don't encounter issues with, compiling these dependencies and so on and so forth, all right? So what do I do to solve this problem? Well, let's copy this approach that Simon describes in this very cool article that I'm gonna link in the description, if I remember to do so. And essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this UV approach of writing these comments with the dependencies for the file, which allows you as well to define the Python version, etc. And we're just gonna instruct Claude via the Claude projects to teach it this approach in UV. And then when we have a problem, we're gonna have the project to be something where we can describe the problem we're having, and then have the model spit out the Python automation, or at least something as close as possible, that we can just copy, paste, run with UV, first try, and essentially see if it works, all right? So let's try that out. So to start, we're gonna go on Claude project. So I'm gonna go on Claude.ai. And now I'm here on Claude.ai. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say use a project, and I'm going to click on plus, create a personal project. What am I working on? I'm going to say Python tools. What are you trying to achieve? Develop a standardized approach to build Python tools as one-line scripts. A standalone standalone one-line scripts. There you go, create a project. All right, perfect. And now we're gonna set the project instructions. So I'm gonna click over here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say the user will input problems or script descriptions or Python script descriptions, and you will output a single Python file with the inline metadata to run it standalone using UV. Below is an example from the UV documentation. All right, so let's see if that is enough to run this. And I'm gonna go over here on UV and I'm gonna say, there you go. At the top, declare that, and I'm gonna go over to Claude. I'm gonna paste that up. So this is an example, right? Dependency stuff. You will include as well, I want to include an example where it defines the Python version. There you go, folks. In this example here, you can see that we have this requires Python that says which Python version is required. So we're gonna input that as well. So let's put that here, and we're gonna say below are a few examples from the UV documentation. I'm gonna turn this into like example number 2, something like that. There you go. Remember to only output the Python file. So I can copy, paste, and run with a UV run command as shown below. And then we're going to show an example from the UV documentation, which should be here. Let's see. UV run, there you go. Using arbitrary Python versions. Okay, yeah, there you go. Made different on your machine. I think this one is the one that I'm gonna copy, unless I'm making some mistake. No, that's correct. UV run, exactly. UV run example.py. And since Claude likes XML tags, let's just write Python script name .py. Yeah, UV run, and I'm gonna say instructions like this. Instructions example 2. Let's just add these XML tags for easier comprehension for Claude. So this is example 1. And then I'm gonna go over here, and then example 1, and now example 2, and now I think we are good to go. So now that we've done that, we're gonna save those instructions. And now that we've done that, and the model has these instructions, I'm gonna take an example that I did today, which is a videos to script example. This is essentially an automation that takes in a folder full of videos and combines them into one audio file, transcribes that file, and then outputs a script that essentially I use it to practice a few times before submitting a YouTube script usually for short form videos. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this thing and I'm gonna let me see if this should provide, okay, so this is from a previous problem. So I'm gonna get rid of this. Yeah, so let's just write the description of the problem. So write me a Python script that takes in a folder path containing a few videos, the MP4 or the MOV, and merges them and extracts their audio, merges that audio into one, transcribes it using Whisper, as in the example below. I'm going to show it in case in case this is not like current information, I don't really remember it, but okay, so this is an example where I use Whisper to transcribe, and I'm gonna say example using Whisper, and then I'm gonna say, and a transcribe using Whisper, then uses the Claude API. Let's use Claude API. Use the Anthropic API with Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Since we're using Claude projects, why not give them a shout out, right? So I'm gonna go Claude API. This is the example Claude API to generate a well-organized script for that video as a single video. There you go. Example using Anthropic API. And then example using Anthropic API. Okay, so I'll put Python script. Let's see what happens, folks. So I'm gonna send that out. Let's see if we get the thing in the structure that we need. Okay, so it's looking good, folks. It's getting requires Python 3.8, OpenAI Whisper, MoviePy, Anthropic PyDub. This is looking really good. This is looking very nice. Okay, max tokens message, the prompt. Okay, this is looking awesome. UV run script folder, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this. And now I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna say video to script Claude version with UV, because I am very bad at writing Python scripts and names. Okay, so let's see. This is the moment of truth. If this thing runs automatically for the first time, it's gonna be amazing. So I'm gonna first make a folder called videos test. I'm gonna call it videos test. And now I need to copy some files to this videos test. I think that this should do. It's MOV file. Videos test is not a directory. Oh no. That's true. It's not a directory because it's called videos test. Let's see if for the files mp4, let's see, mp4.mov ends with mp4.mov. Okay. I think this should, if it doesn't run, it's going to be just because I'm just going to make one change, which is these videos here are with the MOV capitalized. So I'm just going to say move image 36 whatever to video1.mov, move image something to video2.mov, move whatever to video3.mov. All right, that's the only thing I'm going to do. Now we're going to run UV run, right? We're going to go UV run video2 script, and let's see what happens, folks. Are you ready? And I need to give the folder, of course. Videos test, and now let's see if it runs. So it's compiling the dependencies. So far so good, folks. So far so good. And it was one dependency was off, and that is no module name VideoPy MoviePy.editor, which is a bit weird. MoviePy.editor doesn't exist. It does have this as a dependency. MoviePy.editor, MoviePy.editor video file clip. All right, folks, I think I fixed the issue. And the issue apparently was just the versioning in UV. And essentially that was something that Claude did not get right away. So I needed to specify just the correct versions in here. But once I've done that, which was just essentially checking in what was the right one given the output log files that I got. And now we can run, which I did not make any changes here, folks, on the script itself, just on this part from the UV inline metadata. I just added the two dependencies. And now when I run this, There you go. It's reading the metadata and now it's executing the file first try, which is really cool and really impressive. Even though we had a little issue to solve with the versioning of the dependencies that we got from the file. So what I'm going to do is, this is the first one and it's already running, which is pretty awesome. And we're going to try that out with a different example and to see if that works as well. So I'm just gonna wait to see just the final output from Claude, and just to see if we actually get the script from those video files. All right, so we got the script and the transcription. So I'm gonna go to script.txt. Aha, that is really cool, folks. So here we go, folks. We get the full transcription, and that was a complete tool built and ran almost immediately, because we had to solve these dependency issues with UV. However, we are going to now improve it. So let's try for another example. All right, so I'm gonna just pick one of the files that I have here just as a reference point. So perhaps I'm gonna do test change translate PDF, YouTube thumbnails. Okay, this one is simple enough. This is a very simple file that essentially takes in a folder path and produces a grid visualization of all the images in that folder. All right, so let's see what that would look like with this new approach. I'm gonna just go over to Claude, and then I'm gonna write me a single file UV Python script that can take in a folder path containing images and will produce a beautiful grid visualization with all the images inside properly organized and displayed. So it's a very simple app, just to test out if we can get that single file executable right off the bat. So I'm going to send that out. And now, again, we get the script, the dependencies, requires Python. Everything good, everything nice. And let's see what happens when we run this first try. So the idea here is that we get something that can run first try with this approach. We won't have to do pip installs first. We won't have to do any of that. We can just copy, paste, and run. Here we see that it's specifying the dependencies, which I don't love in this approach. So it might be something that I might add an instruction for Claude instructions here to say, look, do not add strict dependencies. We can just say something else, but it's fine. I would rather say something like it's bigger than this version, etc., etc. Although, I'm new to this approach, so it might be better to do this, right? Because it's not a requirements in file, it's a requirements text file kind of, right? Okay, so it might improve reproducibility. All right, so let's try this again. We're gonna copy paste, we're gonna save it as visualize images from folder with Claude UV. Again, I'm not very good at doing names for files. So viz images from folder with UV, and now we need to probably give the folder path. So I'm going to look up my folder path here. I don't know if I have a folder path with images. I don't, so I'm going to just build one, make tier images, and I probably have some images in my downloads folder. So let's just copy those there. Let's see if they are there now. Okay, yeah, we got something. So now we can just run UV run visualize images from folder, and then we can give the folder. Let's see if it runs first try, folks. Running, installing dependencies. Everything's good. And remember, folks, it will only install dependencies once, which is pretty cool. Okay, so apparently it has some issue with loading an image, but it did produce a visualization. So let's open that up. All right, so that's pretty cool. It had an issue with one of the images, but this is probably because of the image itself, not of the script. But as you can see, folks, it works. That's pretty cool. because this is a script that requires, a few dependencies, requires matplotlib, pillow, etc. And all done with just one standalone script. So I think this is a really powerful capability. I definitely would like you to read up on this article from Simon Willison where he explains this approach. And he also has a really interesting approach for HTML standalone scripts and JavaScript. This guy's a genius. Check him out. He's amazing. I love him. And I guess that's it for now, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Cheers.